Alright, sorry for the slow update this time. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on and I was very busy. And then the shipping took forever for some of the components I needed. But I think I'm ready to set up my water cooling loop. So you can see in my terrarium I already got some plants put in there just as a test for now. And here are the components I'm going to be using. So you can see I have my chiller ready. I think this is a 1/15th horsepower or 1/10th horsepower. I think it's 1/15th horsepower chiller, which I don't think you can buy anymore, or at least it's very expensive to buy because this is an older model. And there are newer models, but right now is not a good time to buy this because of the, pandemic and everything, and all the, I guess, the factories are closed down or something. But this is an older chiller I had for my aquarium, which I wasn't really using anymore. I had some old stuff from my water cooling loop for my PC that I've taken apart and reusing for this setup. These are some EK fittings that I couldn't really sell off on eBay because I guess there's a newer version out or something and nobody wants these older ones anymore. So I'm going to be reusing them for this loop. I also have this pump and reservoir. Hopefully this is strong enough to push the water up from the ground level up to the terrarium. I have this huge radiator which is way bigger than what I need. But this is only one I have available right now. It's also from my old computer that I took apart. And you can see I had to wash it and clean off the dust and everything. I have these couple of quick disconnects that I'm going to be using to be able to disconnect the radiator from my loop, just so that, because the tubing has to go through the little hole at the very end corner of the terrarium. So if I want to take it apart, it's going to be a mess if I don't have these quick disconnects. So I have two of those. But anyways, this radiator is way too oversized. I think I only need a 120 sized one, but I guess I could test to see if I turn one fan on versus 2 or 3 fans and see if that makes any difference. But this is way too big to be good. It's unwieldy. I have some tubing, and what else was I going to mention here? I think that's all. I mean, I have a few other components to add a drain port to the pump, but I think that's pretty much it. And I guess, I also forgot to mention, there's some stuff to do here. Like, I can't use these steel screws or whatever material it's made out of, because this is going to rust over time when the condensation builds up and it gets kind of moist. So I need to replace these with something like a nylon screw or some plastic screw. But yeah, I guess that goes with replacing this whole radiator with a smaller radiator or something. And yeah, I mean, let me wire this up or set this up, and we'll see how it goes. So I wired everything up for now. I had to get a 2 amp power supply instead of a 1 amp one, because the 1 amp, this is a 2 amp pump and a 1 amp was not doing it. I also required about 2 liters of distilled water, so this is a 1 gallon jug. I think I used half of it, so I'm guessing around 2 liters of distilled water, which is good because I was going to use a special water cooling, coolant, glycol based coolant, or whatever it is, but I only bought 1 liter of it, and I was like, it's so expensive, I'm gonna test it with distilled water first. But I think I'm just gonna stick with distilled water and just put some biocide droplets in there, because yeah, I mean, it's very expensive for that water cooling, PC water cooling fluid. And for the chiller, I've set it to be, I turned it on already, and I think it started out at like 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and now it's chilled it to 59, and my setting is 57. Set it to 57, and yeah, so far so good. Let's go around this side. You can see that my normal day night, just like with an open top terrarium, right now it's getting kind of in the fall. I haven't turned on my heating yet, so it does get kind of cold at night. So 19 degrees Celsius at night. In the day, sometimes it goes to 24, and it seems like the humidity jumps between 60 in the daytime and 80 maybe-ish at night, which is actually not a good thing. I have to run like a dehumidifier for my room in order to keep like it's too close to the ocean, so humidity gets kind of high. Oh, you can hear the device turning on, the chiller turning on, and one of these fans is now rotating back there. So let it run for a few minutes, and you can see it's already gotten the temperature down by a degree or so, and I changed it up a tiny bit. I turned 2 fans on because I was impatient. I mean, I don't need the temperature to drop that fast. It's just that right now, since I'm observing it, I kind of want to see what the result is. But yeah, I had a 50 gallon before with only one radiator, and it was sufficient. You don't need the temperature to drop instantly once the lights go off for the nighttime drop. It just needs to slowly ramp down to whatever final temperature it needs to be at. So one radiator is enough. But right now I turned two on just, just to see how it goes. I'm also examining for condensation. I mean, there's a small film of condensation on the radiator, but we'll have to see once it gets colder at night. Whatever water you see down there is actually not condensation. It's from me washing the fans earlier and the water dripped off. There's condensation is going to happen probably on the outside, depending on how cold I set the water temperature to. Oh, and also I dropped it down from 60 to maybe 57 Fahrenheit. Because the chiller is not on all the time, so it's on like half the time. So I thought there's some more room for it to pump out some more heat. So I dropped the water temperature down a bit more, and then I'm just monitoring for condensation. So on the metal parts, I think there's a bit of condensation. So I need to get some, of course, insulation material for these tubes. So that's one improvement, and of course I need to clean up the whole wiring mess. So it's not like a fire hazard. Right now we're just testing it for like a day or so, and then I'm gonna have to rewire everything and set up some control system. So I don't want the fans to be on all the time, and I don't want the chiller to be on all the time. So should only be on when I need it. So I need some control for that, and probably wire up a microcontroller or something, or a timer to get it going. And then also, I mean, it's the daytime temperature is not really that important because right now I am pumping in a bunch of heat from the lights. So I have it set to be 104 watts right now. I mean, not all 104 watts is going in as heat. Most of it is on the ballast, which is outside the terrarium. And but it's still adding a bunch of heat inside. And of course, this is open top right now. Right now I'm basically chilling my room. And I can kind of feel the barrier between the room temperature and the temperature in the terrarium just by sticking my hand in right now. It's definitely a bit colder inside. But of course, I need to put like some acrylic piece on top to cover the top of the terrarium. So that's in progress. I need to get it cut and purchased. And I don't really know what thickness I should have it at, because I know if it's too thin, it's going to start to droop over time. And I don't really want that. So, but if it's too thick, I might be reducing the efficiency of my lights, and I have to turn it up by a few more watts. So I don't really want to do that. Oh, you can hear the chiller turning on again. So it's not on all the time, it's just on periodically. But yeah, so more insulation, clean up the wiring, need to cover up the top, and then also I need to check back. I think my lights are going to turn off in like 30 minutes or so for the night. So I have to check back sometime in the middle of the night what the nighttime temperature is going to be. So we will see. But yeah, it's looking good so far. Of course, yeah, the chiller shouldn't be on maybe during the day, unless my temperatures are really hot. I could probably make a control system set up such that, if it gets really hot during the day, yeah, I could turn everything on. But otherwise, during the day, I want everything to be off, just, so it's not noisy. Some other improvements that I forgot to mention is that I want to replace the fans with some better fans. These are just random PC fans. I guess I'll do that once I replace the whole radiator with a smaller radiator. But I want it to be some, more silent fans, maybe, or fans that maybe push more air. And yeah, I'll come back at the middle of the night to see what temperature it ends up at. And yeah, we'll talk about that double pictured cephalotus in maybe another video when I go over all the plants. But yeah, I mean, once this becomes a Highland tank, I'll probably take all the cephalotus out and put them somewhere else. I mean, the helium flora can take the lower temperatures, but I eventually want to grow stuff like Nepenthes hamada or something like that. I mean, these guys don't really need a drop in temperature. Maybe it's just the summer. You don't want to get too hot. But yeah, the cephalotus doesn't need a drop in temperature. And these helium flora can grow without it. So I mean, the whole system is kind of overkill, definitely, for whatever plants I have. But eventually, I want to get some more ultra-highlanders, and I'll probably set up maybe another lighting system right below here. I could hang it off the bottom of the table, and I'll probably just grow the cephalotus down there, and it will be no terrarium. It would just be open to my room, but my place is kind of humid, so I'm struggling to reduce the humidity with a dehumidifier. But yeah, it's close to the ocean, so it's always like above 50%. Maybe only in the winter does it ever drop to 40% once it gets really, really cold. But yeah, I'll come back in the middle of the night and we'll see what the temperature ends up at. Oh, it's already at 19.5. Wow, it's almost reaching the lowest temperatures this guy's ever recorded in this house. So, I mean, looking good so far. And the chiller is not even always on. It's not struggling at all. So yeah, we will see. All right, it's been about an hour into the night. So an hour after the lights have gone off. Temperature is still dropping. Now it's at 16.6. And things are still looking pretty good. I see some condensation forming on the radiator, but I checked the tubes and everything on the outside, and they're even at the very low point of the tubes. There's no condensation buildup yet, which I'm afraid of because my floor is made of wood, and I don't want any drips of condensation onto the wood. But yeah, I'm gonna insulate the tubings anyways. So I guess I'm probably gonna put some saran wrap for tonight over top because I kind of feel the air over, like the cold air coming out from the top here. It's kind of flowing over the side. I guess the fan is kind of just blowing across the whole terrarium and coming out the other end there. So I'm gonna add some saran wrap to see if that speeds things up a bit. See how low we can go. I also turned down the water temperature to 55 Fahrenheit because it seems like the chiller is not always on, so it has some room to chill down the water a bit more. But if it gets too cold, then yeah, the condensation is going to build up even worse. And so I don't want the water temperature to be too low to have that happen, and just kind of have it at the edge of where I need it to be. Also, I'm probably going to need to put like a little bit of a seal here because this part is open to the air, but I don't really feel any air coming out of it. So there's a little gap here, but maybe a piece of foam can be stuck on the edge there, or maybe it's not needed. So it's almost 4 hours since I've turned off the lights. You can see that the temperature has settled to be around 15.5 degrees, and it has gone as low as 15.2, but that was with 2 fans running, and I took off one of the fans, so it's only 1 fan running now just to see what it would do to the temperature. So it looks like it went up a bit to 15.5 with just 1 fan, but yeah, I mean, that's good to know. Maybe a 2-fan radiator setup would be the best option in terms of size and in terms of cooling. But yeah, if the water temperature is around, I set the setting to be 55 Fahrenheit, but of course it just goes down to 55 and then it shuts off, and then it waits until it goes up to like 60 or 59 Fahrenheit before it turns on again. So it's a bit of a dead zone between 55 and 59. So of course I could set it to be a bit lower if I wanted to. I think in the past I set the temperature to be 50 Fahrenheit, but then there was some more condensation. So it's a trade-off between how cold you want the tubes to go and the water temperature. But yeah, right now it seems like it's good for just some Highland plants. And maybe I said ultra-highlander earlier, but yeah, there's an ultra-highlander requires like 2 degrees Celsius, so that's really cold. You need a fridge for that. So, but for Highland Nepenthes or some Heliumphora, this looks pretty fine. Oh yeah, I've also covered the top with saran wrap to reduce the convection, so that all my heat loss is going to be through just conduction. But I'm thinking of just using some styrofoam to cover the top with some aluminum and styrofoam, just like I did in the back and sides here. And I could carve out the shape of the ballast in the middle. So that might be a better idea than using plexiglass. So I'm gonna have to think about that. But yeah, in terms of the chiller, it's on about half the time and off about half the time. I might be off a bit longer than it is on, so maybe on like 33% of the time. And it's consuming 120 watts when it's on. So it's actually not that much because it's only on maybe a third of the time, and it's only going to be on for 8 hours at night, so it's not on all day. So in terms of power usage, it's not that bad. And I mean, the light fixture I have it set to 105 watts. So that's also not that bad. It can go up to 300 watts, but I kind of toned it down a bit. I think in one of my previous videos I mentioned that it's not at max. It's at like 40%, 30%, I don't know. Maybe 40%-ish. And yeah, the plants are doing good. Maybe I'll have some pictures. I'll put it in the video before and after of my cephs turning red. So you could hear the chiller turning back on there. But yeah, the cephs are doing well under the LED lights, and maybe some picture examples will be placed at the end of this video. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for now. There's still a bunch of work to get this to be finalized. This is just a prototype stage right now. Of course, I'm going to clean it up a bit, maybe change the radiator, tidy up the wiring, add some controller, and maybe finish up this top part here, whatever, remove the saran wrap. But yeah, looks good so far. I think I could start trying to get some of the penties in here or something. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next update. Hopefully it won't take as long as this one.